Hi.
Hi, how are
Hi, sorry
you?
for the delay. I was on my I was gonna log on from the computer, but then I remembered that I had issues with it last time, so I
Oh, no
stopped
worries.
and came back in. So, how was your day?
It was good. It was good. Just been busy. So,
Absolutely. Well, I read your paper and it was very your analysis is spot on. Like you got the message.
okay.
Spot on. What we're going to work on today is making it absolutely undeniably clear that you know how to use the lingo that they need you to use. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you were able to say, when he shows us this, well, what about this in particular shows us that? It's the particular words, the fact that a sting is not just the pain immediately, but that it lingers a bit after. So that like his particular word choice. So what we're going to work on, because your paper is really great. And so what I'm going to do is give you sort of like an essay skeleton,
Okay.
and then have you sort of plug in your great rationale and then add in what's missing. You know what I mean? To give it that cohesive, like this is the thesis, because you got the theme perfectly. But what things do they both do as far as like literary terms are concerned? What writer's magic or craft are they utilizing in order to get us to know that? Because that that is what they want us to think. But I think that and you're right on the precipice of it. You'll say like, oh, this illustrates. Well, his imagery is what he's utilizing. Though you're absolutely right, but you have to say this person Dickens utilizes imagery, the stark imagery of the fancy ladies, and then the like dilapidated factories where people are getting black lung, that those juxtaposition of images allows the reader to understand the irony or the like hypocrisy of it, or the like lack of humanity, whatever it is that you already said, and you said it incredibly well. So you're a very good writer. We just need to a little bit tie together the organization and make sure that we use that like key vocabulary so that the state knows, okay, she knows exactly what she's doing and where to go.
Okay, cool.
Excellent. So let me bring that up and stop the video and share Trump. I guess we'll just do the whiteboard. This will work for right now.
Okay.
So the overall arching question was what is it, or what was the question? Let me see if I can bring it up.
Well, it was
the prompt.
Identify and discuss the themes that connect the two passages and explain how the authors use literary elements and or literary devices in each excerpt to develop and support these themes.
Right. And so just based on that, even though a reader can very obviously tell that you understood the theme and how they did it, you would not receive credit for that portion because you didn't say any literary elements. Point out emphatically, they use this to do this inside of the reader, or like with their words. So you need to explicitly state what devices or literary elements that you see are there. And so, like I said, you don't have to do or discuss ones that are so incredibly complex. Imagery, diction, which is an author's specific word choice. And that's really the easiest because writing is words. So looking at an author's specific word choice when discussing certain things or describing certain things is really important, because we get to understand the tone, like the author's attitude. They wouldn't have chosen that word if they could have said it in a nicer way. And they specifically chose to say it in this particular way. So diction's a big one. You did point out similes, but it wasn't like a drive-in. It was like, and he uses this simile, not like this is what he does throughout. And that simile, what does it do? It paints a picture. It creates an image. So Dickens really utilizes imagery. And since you have two pieces, there's several ways you can organize, and you are going to be graded also on organization. So you have two different pieces, right? You have piece 1 and piece 2. So we have to unify them, and it's the theme. And what do they both use? They don't have to use the same thing. They can even not agree on the topic, the two different pieces. And even through that disagreement, the theme is still the same: the treachery of humanity, right? Like materialism breeding sadness in not just the people who utilize the materials, but also those who produce them. It breeds unhappiness everywhere, all along the way. So whatever the theme may be, and then what does that writer do particularly well to illustrate that theme? And I know that Dickens, for sure, and I don't have the pieces. I really want to bring the pieces up for me. I think, let me see if it allows me to do that. Bring up a picture in a picture, that would be great, but maybe not. I always want to do more with my technology than is allowed. I'm like, want to be in some super high tech. Let me just bring up your essay, and also let me bring up the text so we can have it all on the same screen. Wouldn't that be great? I think it is Dickens, and I'm trying to bring it up right now. Dickens, if I'm not mistaken, that utilizes imagery.
Yes.
Ugh. Do you have the piece there?
I do, yes.
Okay. Let's see, what page is that on?
Mine says 52.
Okay, here it is. Hard times.
Yes.
Right. So you have all of these, and he also uses sort of like personification, you know what I mean? Like the windows trembling and rattling, and you know, the piston of the steam engine that's sort of like this elephant.
Right.
Laboriously, monotonously going up and down or whatever. So there's that like personification. But again, personification does create an image within our mind. So you could still stick with that. So what I'm saying is try to find like a solid, this is how they do it, or they might do it from different ways. One or two. So you could say personification and imagery is Charles Dickens illustrates his idea that, you know, industrialization, although it furthers us, like creates this ugly veil, you know, this like smoke that it taints everything, and then everything's in a haze and monotonous and awful, whatever your argument is. So that you're not all over the place. But and then also in your thesis statement, which is always said in the you know, first paragraph, you want to explicitly state like it's the answer to a question.
Okay.
To say, you know, in both what is it, Espada and Dickens pieces, they drive home the idea that, you know, humanity creates ugliness through its need for consumption or something like that. Okay. Espada highlights this message utilizing Diction and his particular, you know, account of, you know, going through the motions of toiling with the paper, and then actually utilizing the paper, being on like two sides of the same coin. While on the other hand, Dickens, also driving home the same message, utilizes imagery and personification to show how the industry sort of becomes this monster, you know, that taints the environment, the surroundings, literally with smoke, and also the people in it with this like monotony. So lay out your argument like clear as day. 1 + 1, you know, equals 2. And then each paragraph following should be exactly what you laid out. A thesis statement is your answer to the question and a plan of action for the reader to follow. So the first body paragraph, if you talked about Espada first, would be about him, his message, and the way that he illustrates his message through the use of particular word choice or diction, right? You can even use diction and images. They both utilize imagery very well. And then once you close that one up, the next body paragraph is specifically going to be about how Dickens also harkens to that same message, but the way in which he particularly does it and the things that he particularly uses. Like, again, they both could use the same devices or a little of the same devices, but then different ones. That doesn't really matter. But you pointing out that you can identify the devices in use is really important, because that's what they want to see. They want to see, does she know what a thesis statement is? Does she give us one? Are her paragraphs organized in a way that shows that, you know, she's taking us through the argument in a succinct and organized way?
Mm-hmm.
And then in your conclusion, you would illustrate again or re-illustrate how the message, the main message, and how although they both had different experiences, the human plight was the same, you know, and they showed us through these different devices.
Mm-hmm.
So piece one, piece two is and then the thesis statement. Right? The thesis statement is the answer to the question. The question is, what is the theme and how do they show it to us? What do they use? So make sure you say that in your thesis statement. Espada utilizes diction to show us the plight of humanity and
Okay.
real world experience. So the way that it'll work is you have your intro, and in your intro is your thesis statement. You can have a couple of sentences before or after that, it doesn't matter. But as long as there's a sentence there that says, this is what I believe of these two and how I came to that stance.
Okay.
And then make sure that the organization of your paper follows what you said in your thesis statement. So if you mention Dickens first, then your first body paragraph should be about Dickens. Just the way that people expect things in reading. So your second body paragraph is going to be about piece one, and you're going to have a topic sentence as your first. And that's just reiterating why we're even talking about that. So it's in Espada's blah, blah, blah. He utilizes diction to illustrate that people don't think about where the simple things in life come from, the toil that went into, you know, getting those simple things, like what pain was administered or absorbed on the other end of this inanimate object in order for me to use it and not even give two thoughts about it. So giving that what this body paragraph is about and how it connects to the overall, and then going through and giving them an example of it, which you do so well, embedding, weaving that textual evidence, example with the text, and then commentary. Explain it, leave nothing for explain. Okay, well, that word sting is different than just hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Sting is a little lasting, it lingers, right? And so it's different and purposeful, that choice, and I believe it's to show whatever it is that it's showing. So you do this however many times. Oh, oops, how do you move I guess I have to erase. I've never used this before. Not this particular feature. I'm going to erase this. So you do that several times. So textual evidence, commentary, textual evidence, commentary, however much you feel or it is there, and you don't have to go overboard. Choose the strongest pieces that illustrate, you know, your purpose or what you're saying, illustrate your point, and discuss those. And then and you can even this piece lends itself nicely because they both use images as like a segue into the third body paragraph, which Dickens also utilizes, you know, diction and images to illustrate his point. And then again, providing textual evidence and commentary about what his text illustrates about the overall message, and then bringing it together. So I'm going to allow you to share, and then if you could just bring up your paper and a Word document, and we could just go in and copy and paste in the.
Okay. Let's see.
Hold on, let me stop share, and I think I have to change a setting of some sort. But how is this working for you? Like, are you?
Yeah, it's working well. Whenever I was drafting it, it took me a really long time to write it, which kind of freaked me out a little bit. But I was kind of had the feeling that the biggest issue was the clearness and organization of it. I think was kind of my biggest.
And that's the English teacher in you.
Yeah.
But when you haven't been writing this is not like this is formulaic writing. You're analyzing, and then you are showing in this structured manner, this logical manner, what your analysis was. And so having the skeleton, and I'm going to write it on the board really fast and then take a picture and show it to you, because I feel like that will be useful.
All right, I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Okay. 1 hour later. Screen sharing. On. Okay. Did that do it? Let's see. Okay. Okay. I think, do you see it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can I make this bigger? Does it? Okay. So did you want me to just like start with the thesis and?
Right. So I'm going to see if I can just show you this. And how do I turn it around with the camera? Is it looking at me?
Yes.
Can you see the board? I can't see if you can see the board.
I can see a part of it. Yes. Intro.
Thesis statement. So your topic sentence, evidence, commentary, evidence, commentary, evidence, commentary, and then the next one. So I would say just like 2 strong pieces of evidence that you can elaborate on and illustrate your point for each of the body paragraphs, or maybe 3. I mean, it's usually 3 pieces of evidence in a 2 body paragraph essay, and 2 pieces of evidence in a 3 body paragraph essay. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So, and then just on another document, begin with your introduction and your thesis statement, and you can just take pieces. You have really great work here. What we're doing is just plugging into this simple formula.
Okay. Wait, okay. So you want me to open up another document?
Right. If you were able to do it like side by side, that would be great. Or just like even another page on the same page, you could just go to the bottom and start with your body paragraph. And
I'm thinking, I'm like, how do I'll just start down on the same. Okay.
Yeah, let's just do like just the sentences that, so you don't have to worry about making an amazing introduction. Just give me a thesis statement based on your introduction, or your analysis.
Okay. Okay, despite the authors speaking from different perspectives, they both successfully convey. So should I state the authors' names, like despite Espada and Dickens speaking from different perspectives? Or okay, so you're saying that I should say like Espada.
So this is just your answer. So what was the question again? It was like, what is the theme and how do they both convey it? That's the question. So I just want like the answer to that question.
Okay.
So both Espada and Dickens convey the message that, and whatever the message that you ascertained is, by utilizing, and then what it is that they utilize.
Okay.
Because you can even organize it differently and say both utilize diction, images, and I don't know, metaphors to illustrate the plight of humanity and consumption. I'm not saying that's the theme, but whatever your theme is. And I think that you got the theme, but it's just not something, because theme is always stated in a sentence. Like, what is the theme of these two works?
Okay.
In fact, let's go, and I'm going to read Who Burns for the Perfection of Paper. The title in itself needs to be thought of when you think about Espada and what he does so well with diction. Who burns for the perfection of paper? A poem by Martin Espada. At 16, I worked after school out. Wait, what? At 16, I worked after high school hours at a printing plant that manufactured legal pads, yellow paper, stacked 7 feet high and leaning as I slipped cardboard between the pages, then brushed red glue up and down the stack. No gloves, fingertips required for the perfection of paper, smoothing the exact rectangle. Sluggish by 9 p.m., the hands would slide along suddenly sharp paper and gather slits thinner than the crevices of skin, hidden. Then the glue would sting, hands oozing, till both palms burned at the punch clock. 10 years later in law school, I knew that every legal pad was glued with the sting of hidden cuts, that every open law book was a pair of hands upturned and burning. Pretty cool. So definitely he's a words man. The words that he chooses, the oozing, palms burning, this suddenly sharp.
So that would be Espada utilizes diction to convey to the audience how
Also, what about line 24 and 23? I knew that every legal pad was glued with the sting of hidden cuts.
wouldn't that be personification?
Yeah, a little bit. It would, and kind of in the same way, but mostly that sting of hidden cuts, that the words that he's using, the sting of the hidden cuts, to create a connection to his past experience, you know?
Yeah.
Every legal pad helped the weight of someone's tireless work, you know, that comparison, that metaphor is incredibly strong.
Okay. Ugh. I don't
You're
know.
you're going to be totally fine. You have it all there. Everything that you analyze, like for instance, and we can go and look at it. Okay. So implies how pain is overwhelming. But the pain, we don't make that connection. You're right about that. But would sting hands, wait, go back up.
Sorry.
Oozing in the first paragraph or the second paragraph, where it says, Espada explains how the small cuts in his hand would sting, hands oozing till both palms burn, and implies how this pain is overwhelming when considering the simplicity of the product that would result from the pain. But you didn't show them that. The simplicity comes later in stanza 2, where he says, I know every legal pad is a sting, was glued together with the sting of hidden cuts. So
Right.
now we know the simplicity that made that connection. But you're right, he does do that with his work, show us the connection, how that pain comes from, having to produce something that is just nothing in someone's real life. Unless you were there and you felt it, those things yourself, you're probably not going to pay attention.
Right. Okay. Implies that the pain is overwhelming. I just feel like I don't know how to make it more like this plus this equals this.
Well, because you got so much of it. He also shows with his words the monotony of it. Yellow paper stacked 7 feet high and leaning as I slipped cardboard between the pages, then brushed red glue up and down the stack. Like, it's just this thing, and it always, and then also, whenever authors utilize colons, semicolons, might pay attention to it. But I feel like he shows us the monotony of it, and how it seems like it might be innocuous to, like, oh, I worked at a printing press after school, no biggie. Yes, biggie, no gloves, fingertips required, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's a shift, and it's like, yes, let me tell you, so it is monotonous and blah blah blah, and it's the simple thing, it's just legal pads, that's all I was doing. But by the end, what do we have? We have sluggish, slits, crevices, hidden, sting, oozing, burned. Like, those are the words that are there. And this pain comes from this, like, seemingly innocuous after school job. Those are not all good words that I would want associated with my experience, but they were associated with experience. So how does he use the words and sort of change them to create his message that humanity really doesn't pay enough attention to the important things, the toil that people go through, and we put more attention on the legal pad, the finished product, than actually the toil that went into it.
Okay.
Okay, so what would you want to say if you just write one sentence? Like, what do you think the theme of both pieces are? Hard Times is a bit different because it's not a poem, it's prose, right? Anything not a poem is prose.
Right.
So his is different, obviously.
Yeah.
But he just flat out tells you that it was monotony, up and down.
Right. And I didn't, I was nervous I feel like both of the pieces really kind of focused on the monotony, but I was like nervous to use that word over and over again.
Yeah, and they did. and also, another good point that you brought out, and I highlighted it on mine. You have really, like I said, really great ideas. You just need to identify them as what they are and organize them, like you discussed the, what was it, personification, somewhere, where, what was it that you said? I'm trying to remember.
Sorry.
No, not at all. Oh yes. This ominous 7 feet high stack leaning is like, it does feel like it's like this person or like monster, and that's personification. So the stack of legal paper is like this literal evil guy that looms over, like this object this job that he has to do day in and day out. Sluggish by 9 p.m. This is at 16 that his hands are oozing when he punches out. Well, so again, what would you say the theme would be if you had to say one sentence? You got to type up a sentence that utilized both authors' names, said what the main message of the piece, of both pieces is, and how that was illustrated, just in one sentence.
So I would want to say something like both authors utilize, like, how would I say both authors utilize, but they use different literary devices.
But they do, but you don't have to say, you can say like, both authors convey this message. However, Espada does it this way, this, and this, and
Okay.
Dickens does it this, and this. Just say it, like, just explain the way in which they both say this message, both of them. However, one says it this way and the other one says it this way, or maybe they say it the same way, who knows. But definitely point it out to them and make it very clear for the reader.
Okay. Both authors convey to the audience
Yes.
the
the irony or the hypocrisy or the like, because what do you think the tone is of both pieces? Do you think that they are happy that things are this way, or do you think that they think it's a shame it's this way?
They think that it's creating a negative result.
Right. It has negative consequences, negative experiences, that it's not without, sacrifice to someone along the way.
So both authors, both Dickens and Espada, convey to the audience how the perils of industrial labor
on the community, on humanity, because in one you have it where there's also this like pollutants, like you can't even see the red brick of the town because there's so much smoke in there. It's not just polluting the people's lives, it's literally also polluting the atmosphere, the environment. So you're right, they're both trying to show the perils, not just personally, but like on a grander scale of our like sort of fixation on things and products.
So through imagery and word choice, both Espada and Dickens conveyed to the audience the how the perils of industrial manufacturing, or how manufacturing labor uh, poses a negative impact on the individuals involved and society.
Sure, that could be it. I mean,
Okay.
is it the strongest thing you've ever written? Probably not, but that is a right answer. You said a theme and you said they both did that. The only thing missing is how did they do it? So
Through,
there can be another sentence. There can be another sentence. So Espada
okay.
utilizes this, this, and this, while Dickens creates disdain for the industrialization of a community utilizing this, this, and this.
Okay. Okay. Well, or Espada
Oh, you have paper, right? I was gonna say, if you're not writing this down, definitely, while you write. But on the day of the exam, like, you can't take this long. So you have to be able to just sort of identify in a couple of sentences that main theme, and you have beautiful way with words. You definitely do. And you know what they're doing and why they're doing it. You just have to structure it in a succinct, fast, logical way.
Yeah.
You're doing very well. This is cognitive taxing. This is like preparing for a marathon upon marathon with your brain.
So,
And not for nothing, the ELAR 7 through 12 is the most challenging exam of all the exams, okay? So you're doing really well. Nobody else has to write, amazing writing, and you have amazing writing. We just don't write like this all the time. So we just need to get into the muscle memory of just plugging it into this very formulaic structure and giving them what they want and then moving on to the next task. You're doing really well, Molly. I don't want you to be upset. Like, I can't tell you how well you're doing.
I'm so sorry.
You're doing so well. Not at all. Don't apologize at all in any way. I just said you were running a marathon. You know how many people cry when they're training for marathons? Like, it literally is. It's just with your brain.
Okay. I know, like, what I have to. I know what I have to do, but it's just like
You get
talking about.
nervous.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I feel like it should be so much easier.
Not at all. No, like I just said, everybody has difficulty with this exam. So many people do. Honestly, we should all be like congratulating English teachers because they did have to do some work to get there.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. So don't think so much into it. You don't have to give them 2 pages of analysis. Give them what they want quickly. The bare basics to show them, and you have beautiful language. So just to show them that you got the point and you're able to identify specifically connecting those content terms, the things that we have to teach them in the TEKS, right? Personification, you did identify simile, but it wasn't stated in the thesis statement that was going to be. So you could say that the author utilizes, if you want to talk about different types of devices, just say they utilize figurative language and then specifically talk about different metaphors, similes, and personification. So it's sort of like an umbrella overarching of different things that you're going to be talking about. But try to focus on like one main thing they do well so that it's easier for you. So you can focus on just one thing and focusing that paragraph on one thing and then moving on. Because when we try, because they do so much. The guy talks about, the monotony that's in there, the punctuation, like there's a lot in there to analyze and you could cover it all, but you don't want to, and you don't have the time for that. So sort of choose what they do well or what illustrates the point strongest, and then attack, and then just give them that and move on. Because you don't have to give them everything. You don't have to show them that you caught all of the devices or all of the things that they were doing. You just have to say, this is the message. This is how I identified it. This is what they did to make me get the message. And think about what we want our students to get out of it. the best way we would utilize it as an instructional tool. Espada does a really great job with his words, the specific word choice.
Mm-hmm.
And creating that like idea or image of those like really paper thinner than paper crevices, thinner than wrinkles, and that those things could still somehow, that lingering sting, you know, of the work. So he does a lot, but we don't want to talk about all of it. Just choose one or two things they do really well, give them, you know, 2 or 3 examples of how they're doing it, and make sure you're always going back and saying, this is how they're showing us this, and this is how they're showing us this. So don't leave it for them to make those connections. Explicitly tell them they are doing this in order to create this image within us, in order to create this feeling within us. We've all felt a sting of something, an ant, a pinch, a heartache, something that stings, that lasting pain that sort of echoes somewhere on your person. And he says that word so that we understand like the importance of understanding that a legal pad was literally someone's hard work and pain, you know, and we don't even think about it, give 2 thoughts to it. And maybe that's not okay. You can do this. Do you want a break and then you go write and we meet back up sometime this evening and you just have like a skeleton filled out of the your paper?
It's okay. It's okay. Let me, okay, so my thesis could be,
You keep thinking, I'm gonna go get a water.
okay. Do you want me to keep talking or?
She's like crying. Where are my waters? Stop saying that, Xander. It's very weird. It is not at all. No. Okay. Sorry. Where were we?
Okay, through figurative language, Espada and Dickens both convey to the audience the perils of industrial manufacturing, and how they pose a negative impact on society.
Right, or that, you know, there's a physical toll, whether on a person or a place, that is paid.
Right. Espada utilizes word choice to convey his message, while Dickens,
And the literary term for specific word choice is diction.
Okay, you're right.
You
Utilize,
can say word choice, but you know, if you want to be extra fancy.
yeah, diction to convey his message, while um, communicates his ideas with imagery.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Because even with diction, you have enough to talk about all the different words and what those, why he might use those words and what those words help conjure within a reader.
Okay, but is that like a more clear way to explain my purpose and what I'm trying to do in that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's spot on.
Okay. So then moving to like the body.
Did you also say, oh wait, read, can you read the whole thing? Did you write it?
Yes. Sorry, I wrote it. Through figurative language, Espada and Dickens both convey to the audience the perils of industrial manufacturing and how they pose a negative impact on society. Espada
Perfect.
utilizes diction to convey his message, while Dickens communicates his ideas through imagery.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Okay.
And then your first body paragraph would be highlighting Espada's diction and how that diction illustrated the message that they both illustrate. And then your third body paragraph would be about Dickens and how his images and his figurative language, you know, illustrate this. And then again, another repeat with some highlight words or some new thing, maybe some new evidence that you didn't use before.
Okay, so like in my essay or my first body paragraph, I organized it with like Espada and then Dickens. Are you
But
saying?
what was your focus? So can you identify the focus of literary device?
I'm sorry. What?
What were you what is the topic sentence for Espada, the second body paragraph?
The second body paragraph is regardless of the author's differing perspectives, they both are thematically united by the closure of each piece. And then I said, Espada remarks that 10 years later in law school, I knew that every legal pad was glued with the sting of hidden cuts. Similarly, Dickens' narrator states that these attributes of Coketown were in the main inseparable from the work by which it was sustained. Against them were to be set off comforts of life which found their way all over the world. Both authors convey to the audience how class and privilege are implicit factors in defining who contributes to the development of these everyday products and who is the consumer of them. Espada's account is targeted to those who have the inherent ability to bypass the gruesome work of industrial manufacturing and all that it entails. The reader is allowed the opportunity to visualize a once struggling Espada at the forefront of the privileged side and how he humbly is reminded of the work he was subjected to as a youth compiling pages for the legal pads.
Yeah, I think they both utilize diction and imagery, figurative language, diction, and imagery to illustrate their point. The whole poem is an image because we do see 16-year-old like with possibly band-aids or maybe not, because you can't even have that for the perfect pads, you know, the perfection of the pad, which I'm sure you don't get paid for the pads that you mess up. We do get that image and it's a powerful image. So they all do that, but you just have to talk about it in an organized way. So if you're going to say they both do both of them, like they both utilize diction, then your first body paragraph is about diction and you talk about examples from both. Your second body paragraph will be about they're using images, and you would talk about the images that diction utilized and the overall image that Espada creates for us and how powerful that is. The third body paragraph would be whatever you said in the thesis statement, but you have to organize it in that way. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because you have it all there. That's what I'm saying. Like when I read this, I'm like, oh my God, she knows what she's doing. We just have to put it together in a more structured way, a more organized way. And you do that by your thesis statement. That is what drives the structure of the paper. So once you decide what it is and reading your paper, your thesis statement is that they both utilize images. They both utilize specific word choice to create images in the reader's mind. And they both use figurative language, personification, similes. So it's just about you deciding your thesis statement. That sentence is what drives everything in the paper, in the analysis.
Okay. So my topic sentence for my first body paragraph, based on my new thesis, could be something like, uh, okay, so like, since my last sentence of my thesis is Espada utilizes diction to convey his message while Dickens communicates his ideas through imagery, then should I just start talking about how Espada, like using examples of Espada utilizing the diction, and then the next body
Yes, absolutely. So you would first, the topic sentence has to say that's what you're doing. I'm going to give you examples of him utilizing the diction. So you're going to say in Espada's work, and name the title, because the words in the title are important too. And that's also part of your proof. Who burns for the perfection of paper? The perfection of paper.
Uh-huh.
And I don't even know. I'm sitting here looking at as we're reading this, looking at my oversized calendar that is glued, and I hope it's not glued manually by somebody's hand, and then that thing put over, but maybe, because I don't know, maybe at some point it was. And I know what kind they're talking about with that red glue on the edge, that type of legal pad. And this was written when? 1993? Oh my God, I really hope this calendar wasn't like made with people's hidden stings as I'm sitting here. Like, but it rips off so nicely and easily. I just would imagine now that we've managed to find out a machine way of doing that and cutting people out of like work. Anyway, so the title's important. So in Espadas, who burns for the perfection of paper, Espada utilizes from the title, like beginning at the title, diction or particular word choice to illustrate his point.
Right.
Period. And then you would begin, say, for example, or like, Espada illustrates that the industrialized, or the company that he worked for, what is it called? The factory that he worked for, or the job that he had at such a young age, was monotonous. And you could pick out the like particular words that show that, and you could show the like particular words that he utilizes. Estrada utilizes particular word choice to show us the pain and toil that goes into creating a simple object. No gloves, fingertips, and our fingertips and our toes are so incredibly sensitive. Fingertips required for the perfection of paper. Who burns for the perfection of paper? Somebody's fingertips does, and it was his at some point. Sluggish, to show like the difficulty of the task to just produce a legal pad. We're just talking about a legal pad. He told us in the third line. So he's sluggish, this 16-year-old. Sharp paper, slits, crevices, hidden, all of those words that like those tiny, almost not there, but they are. And then the word sting, oozing, burned, to show just how difficult and till both palms burn. They're oozing from pain of hidden crevices. Imagine, till both palms burn. That's who burns for the perfection of paper. So anyway, he's doing this all through particular word choice, and everything that I'm saying in between is just commentary, like how you would link and what you would say he's trying to illustrate for the reader.
Okay. Okay, so, and then follow the same format for the next body paragraph.
Right.
But with Dickens.
Right. And then you would say, while Espada and Dickens share the same ideas or whatever, or you could say, much like Espada, Dickens illustrates his same disdain for industrialization through the use of imagery, period, for example, or however you want to frame the next examples.
Okay.
However flows best. And you're a very strong writer, so I have no doubts that you can easily do this.
Thank you. So, like, was my draft too long? Like, too...
Yes, I would say so. Yeah,
Okay.
because you covered a lot of different things. And when you focus it down, it's gonna be less. You know, that's why I say focus on like one strong theme that has many examples that you can talk about instead of bringing a whole bunch of different things in. But yes,
be more like, okay, because I feel like I just got a little too okay. I see what you mean now. Okay. I think I have more of an idea of how I need to
attack.
Yeah. Okay. So should I just have like introduction, body 1, body 2, and then just close it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So let's take a look at or let's discuss the score point analysis. I'll read it to you for a 4, which is the highest. So the 4 response demonstrates thorough knowledge and understanding of content knowledge addressed in the question as it relates to the test. And so this has to do with theme and obviously literary analysis, right? The response fully addresses all components of the question. Like that is a main bullet in 4. So you have to explicitly state the literary elements or devices and the theme explicitly that they both sort of convey. Make sure that it addresses all the components of the question. The content knowledge is, accurate, that you're not misinterpreting it, that the response provides strong support from the text, relevant details, that the response reflects clear, logical reasoning and comprehensive understanding of the assignment. And so this is the part that gets people, that clear reasoning and comprehensive understanding. So you are just showing them the theme that unites and then what devices they utilize or that you came. And so you cannot take the time to say all of the myriad different ways in which they are trying to convey their message. So you have to, and you get to decide what is necessary, because you choose in your thesis statement what the rest of the paper is going to contain.
Okay.
So you're not going to talk about the punctuation and the fact that the punctuation is a shift in each time, because we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about diction and word choice for one, and imagery for the other. And then the response is written effectively for the specified audience and is largely free of flaws in paragraphing, sentence structure, usage, and mechanics. And you have like no problems with any of that stuff. You do the one problem that you had was the response reflects that clear logical reasoning and the comprehensive mechanical understanding of the assignment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So just the focus, the recentering the focus starts at the thesis, and then
Right.
will reflect throughout the rest of the.
Right. And each body paragraph should start off with a strong topic sentence, which says like, so your topic sentence for body paragraph 2 has to have something to do with Espada, restating the title maybe, and that he illustrates through his specific word choice, his, understanding of the payment that goes in, or the debt, or the pain, or the sting, or the toil that goes in to manufacturing an everyday product that nobody ever pays attention to. And so the rest of your paragraph is going to be about, it's the topic sentence is little ts, and it should guide the rest of your paragraph. And you should only in that paragraph should be about diction and how it supports that idea that a lot of pain went into making something so simple as a legal pad in this factory for mass production.
Okay. Just in topic. Okay. Okay.
You're doing well. You really are. Like I enjoyed reading your paper, and I was like, yes, like your ideas spot on. You just have to focus and organize your analysis.
Okay. Thank you. I'm so sorry I got flustered and.
Not at all. Are you kidding me? You're a human being. I'm like exactly the same way. I really am. And it's awful, but I just am. So it's fine. I just like accept it.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So do you think it would help me to find, you said that both, that on the exam that it's going to be the same prompt, like I am going to have 2 passages, and like that's what I'm going to be connecting them and then talking about their literary devices. Like the prompt is going to be the same, but it's just different pieces.
That's correct. So yeah, it's going to be, and there's so many different themes. And like I said, you might have 2 pieces that like don't agree, but they still illustrate the same theme. You know what I mean? They still illustrate the same message. And so you just have to be able to explain the connection and the literary connection, the way that they illustrate those ideas or that message through their use of literary devices or, technique.
Okay.
Writing technique.
Okay.
And then the second task is going to be you reading a student's work, and you have to identify a strength. And again, that's another mistake people make, is that like you can go on, there's probably going to be several things you can talk about. Choose one thing, because if you name several things, then now you have to provide textual evidence for all of those things that you just named, and you have to hit on all of them. So just be brief, give them exactly what they want. They want a strength, an example, of the strength from the textual evidence, and why some commentary about why you're saying it's a strength. And then you provide a one weakness. Don't list all of the weaknesses that are there, because then you have to now provide textual evidence for all of the weaknesses that are there, and also provide a resolution or an assignment that will circumvent that weakness. So don't do that. Provide one weakness. And everybody has the same, I mean, there's not so many things that it could be about. It could be about word choice, the student's word choice. Maybe they clearly misidentified the audience and they're too informal in their writing, and it's not going to go over with their audience. And then that's what you provide examples for. And that's what you provide, because you do have to have like an activity or something that you could do that will help bolster that weakness, you know, not just for the student, but for everyone else, something that would be beneficial to help strengthen that student's weakness in writing.
Mhm.
And so coming up with those things beforehand is sort of important. Thinking about those things beforehand. So there's not so many different weaknesses you can have. You can have short and choppy sentences. Lots of students do that, where they use the same type of sentence, that simple sentence structure over and over in your papers, and you read it and it actually literally feels choppy. Well, there's activities that you can utilize in order to help strengthen students and get them to use varied sentence structures so that it flows well and you don't feel seasick while you're reading their paper. But thinking of those things beforehand is important. And you can just like Google those things. There's lots of them on Pinterest. And if you get another session, we can talk about some of those things as well, some of those activities. And you can, because I taught English ELAR for 16 years in a public school, have like a million of them just on the top of my head. And you can only get those while being in the classroom as a teacher for many years and knowing, you know, identifying a weakness in a student's writing and then going and finding those activities to bolster it, or it being part of your lessons to begin with, you know. So for short and choppy sentences, there's a really great cooperative learning group where you give them a bag of short and choppy sentences about French fries, each group, and they have to fix it, so like have all of the sentence ideas of the sentences, but they have to come up with new ways. And you also, before that, review the basic sentence structures, all of them. And then they come up with these like other, like sort of little mini ads for French fries, and they have to utilize the different ones, and it's fun. And they get practice and they get better at not writing the same type of sentence because they're more aware of how basic it sounds, the original script that they get, and what they're able to turn it into utilizing one of the fancy sentence frames, the structures that we give them. So that's an activity that I would utilize in order to strengthen not just that student, but all students' ability. Plus it gives them cooperative learning and all these other extra things, myriad extra growth and development things that we also are monitoring. But you don't have to say all that. Be succinct, because you don't have a lot of time, and you want to go in there with a plan of action. You want to say like, okay, and that's why it's good to try writing these papers out beforehand so that in sort of a realistic way what is expected of you. And I did say I have another like a pairing that I can send you that you could practice with if you want after this one. Sort of like a different one, so then you can just look at it fresh. And now that you won't, you'll attack it differently.
Mm-hmm.
What else was I going to say? But so just be realistic about your strengths, and so if you know that the literary analysis one is going to give you issues or whatever, start with it first. Do the right, I don't know if you can do that, but if you can, do the writing portion first and give yourself a timed limit, and then go back and hit the multiple choice. Or if you feel better going through the multiple choice, make sure that you stop yourself at a certain point and give yourself the time. So you have to be mindful about your time either way. But definitely try to have a plan of action, because it'll just make you feel less like worried and out of control. If you're like, okay, I have 5 hours and I know I'm going to do this, I'm going to go in, read it, find the theme, find a strong literary device that they're utilizing for that theme, and then get it done, and then move on to the next task. You're not trying to be Shakespeare or like the most poetic or like this professorial thing. You're just trying to illustrate that you know how to analyze 2 pieces of literature, find the theme and then point out what the author is doing, you know, because your students, like I said, you have to teach them to be able to do this in their work. So you have to be able to do it yourself. And then the next part also, that which I find is easy if you think about it beforehand, you know, if you think about common mistakes students make in their writing, you know, inappropriate use of, you know, informal language, inappropriate for the audience, misidentification of the audience, short and choppy sentences, word choice is another one you can do if they like have particular words, you know, and you don't want to talk about the informal language, you could just choose, because remember, this is only going to be one sort of body paragraph in your essay. It's just going to be the weakness portion of it. So you don't want to illustrate all the weaknesses. You just want to really hone in on one that you saw a couple of times that gave you pause, and then move on to illustrating the activity that you would do, but make sure you say why that activity is going to help.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
It's going to be good. You're going to be fine. You're going to be in a classroom soon enough, and your kids are going to be crying when they have to do this on their AP exam, you know? Like, seriously, I'm so serious. It's stressful for them too. They have to do this stuff and they're expected, like, they're little geniuses. Honestly, they blow me away all the time with their analysis of stuff and the way that the stuff that they're able to do, and the demand, it just gets more and more and more, just like the way that it does for adults. So you really will have people in tears in your classroom when they're trying to like prepare for something really important academically, and it matters so much to them. I mean, it matters in life, it matters in the world. So and it's not easy. This is not a type of writing that people do all the time.
Right.
It's a very particular type of writing.
Yes.
So yeah. Yes, it is. So, but you have a game plan and you have all of the tools, the best words, your analysis is spot on. I know that you were able to look at the pieces from various ways that they came to the same, you know, message, you know, the various things that they did all to receive. But by shortening it and focusing it, you make it easy for yourself. And then just really expanding and highlighting multiple examples of the same thing.
Okay. All right. Okay, I feel a little bit better.
Good, I'm glad. And like I said, it was a good paper. It was a good paper, but there's a very particular paper that they're looking for.
Yes.
So I don't know if I'll see you again, but definitely, when are you test? You test on August
2nd, Monday.
2nd. Monday. Well, I just think you're ready. I mean, I think that you're good to go. How do you feel with the multiple choice questions?
I feel all right. I like certain sections. I'm like, yes, like this is a no-brainer to me at this point. The hard thing for me is like just specific literary periods, and I kind of mentioned that before, but I was like I printed off the Memetrics like questions, and I've been going through those, and there's like some sections where I'm like, ugh, like girl, I don't remember, but talking to myself. But
no, yeah, for sure.
But there's but
that's your metacognition right there saying like, I don't even remember this.
Yeah, but I'm trying to like just review and like reteach myself just like certain things about like the different periods, like, or like the questions where it gives like an excerpt and then it's like who's the author, and I'm like, oh my god, like I don't know, like what am I gonna do on the test? Like there's so many of these kinds of questions. So just trying to like just review and reteach like just these very specific things.
Right. And have you looked up, or if you Google ELAR TEXES?
Yes.
Have you looked at the genres the way they lay it out? Because we have to know what they have to know.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, definitely Google, and it'll take you to the TEKS website, to TEA, the TEKS website. And like I said, it's not nice for you in a, like a PDF. It's just there on the webpage, but it shows all of them. Actually, can you bring it up on your screen on the Google?
Yeah, let me see. Wait a second. Ah. Yeah. This. Yes. High school.
I don't know. It's still on the practice literary response.
Is it really? Okay.
Mhm.
How do I do this? Resume share? No. Goodness, I don't know. Okay, I don't really know how to.
Let me see if I can do it. Let me try to quickly.
There's so many. I'm gonna do new share. Let's have one. That? No. What about now? Do you see it now?
Oh yes, I see it.
Okay. So there's all of the rules, but each individual.
Let me see. Now if but remember, you also want to look at seven also 7 and 8.
7 and 8.
ELAR 7, yeah, middle school too.
Okay, yeah.
So also take a, if you click on 7, for instance.
Oh, sorry. Embody the interconnected nature of listening, speaking, reading, writing, and thinking through the 7 integrated strands of developing and sustaining foundational language skills, comprehension, response, multiple genres, author's purpose and craft, composition, and inquiry and research. Focuses on academic oracy, authentic reading, and reflective writing to ensure illiterate TEXES.
Yeah, so oral language proficiency is really important. Anytime we get the kids talking and utilizing their language to express ideas, like, is going to be the right answer, you know. So focusing on oral language proficiency, giving ELL students myriad opportunities to engage in organic conversation, not on content related, maybe content related, but off topic, in order to strengthen their oral language proficiency.
Okay.
And so if you go down through these, you can see, like, in it says it right there about the ELPs right here. Current research stresses the importance of integrating second language acquisition with quality content area, which is why our ELL students have such a huge task. Like, not only are they tasked with learning the content on grade level with their peers, native English speaking peers, but they're also tasked with acquiring a second language at the same time. So it's a challenge. And so it is so important that every single teacher is utilizing all those supports that we know are research-based to help make it easier for them, to help acquire that language faster. The faster and the more support that they have with that, the more their academic progress strengthens, like content wise.
Okay.
See, oral language proficiency. Just glancing through this, you don't have to have this memorized. That would be preposterous. But it is what you are supposed to already know, because it's what is required that we're able to impart on the students.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you had mentioned something about the AP test, like reviewing the old, you said the old AP exams, or
Right. So if you Google AP release tests, one of the questions that's always on the AP exam on I believe it's the literature exam, is a literary analysis. Sometimes it has two pieces and sometimes it has one, but that's neither here nor there. What's good about reading the strong responses, the ones that got scored the highest, is that you are reminded of the different ways you can analyze things, the different ways to talk about themes, the different literary devices, that are out there. So it is a good, there you go. So yeah, it's the literature, and it is, but so yeah, it's going to be the release test. So you can see the first one, I think, is what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you go down, let me see, go down, and you should be able to see like release test. And then, what does it say?
thank you. Full choice for your response.
Okay, so the
Past exam questions.
yeah, so it's gonna be in the past exam questions, or the scoring report actually is where it's going to be. Oh, it's still here though. You can see it here, the scoring guidelines and the scoring commentary. So, but it's only one of the questions, and I need to look at the exam to see it, but it's the literary, you'll recognize it. It's a piece of literature. It's either a poem and a piece of prose, or two poems or one poem, but it's asking you to analyze thematically, the intended message of the author, and then the way that that's illustrated, and reading the student responses that are utilized in the scoring guide. It's, well, here's an example. Obama's intended purpose in his eulogy for Kennedy is clear. So his intended with appeals of both pathos and logos, the application of anecdote, and respectful, admiring tone. So those are three different things that we should possibly see in the paper, right? Obama's intended purpose, and now they're going to say what the theme is clear, blah blah blah, and then they follow that through their paper, presumably. So reading these is useful. I don't know if this is particularly the one, but you could talk about pathos if you wanted to, if it was like, pertinent to the analysis of the paper. But reading these, it's just a good review of all the different things you could possibly talk about, the different ways in which we analyze literature, and the different messages that authors, timelessly over and over again. I mean, the reason it's the theme is because we all feel it. It's the universal plight. It's like applicable to everyone. Love is painful sometimes, people are awful at times. Our obsession with things hurts actual important things. So those are all universal truths, and just refreshing ourselves on the language, that like academic language that we utilize when talking about it, is useful. So that's why I'd like for you guys to review this.
Okay. Nice.
All right, Molly. Well, I'm going to let you go. You have a beautiful rest of your day. I want you to be proud of yourself because you did amazing. And like your paper was beautiful to begin with. But like I said, they want a very particular thing. And
Right.
I have no doubts that you're going to give it to them on the day that you go and take your test.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of your help and your patience too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Well, you have a great rest of your day, and I'll let you know how it goes.
Yes, please do. Definitely let me know.
Okay.
All right. Smile, but I'm like not telling you to smile because like in like a weird boy way, but because you should be proud of yourself. Like that paper that you wrote was very well written. And I knew that like, you know, it's difficult whenever you do a good job because you did do a good job. Like I'm telling you, if somebody reads that paper, like you're a very strong writer. But remember, they're looking for a formulaic, very particular thing.
Right.
This is a theoretical exam. Make sure when you read the essay, the prompts that you identify like you would in the multiple choice questions, like what are they asking for, like what are the key words, like what are they asking for, so that you don't leave out a key component that they're specifically asking for. I'm not saying that they'll throw a one off. Normally it's like literary devices, and you're good with that, but maybe they're more specific, who knows. Make sure you give them exactly what they ask for.
Will do.
All right. Well, see you later and good luck. And let me know after. I'm going to be excited and waiting for your response.
Okay, I will let you know. I will let you know. Thank you. Thank you for all your help.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.